Now on to another theatre of conflict. Amid escalating war, Ukraine has appointed a new Prime Minister as President Volodymyr Zelensky shuffled the pack of his government. Olha Stefanishina has been fielded as Ukraine's new envoy to the US, while US Special Envoy Keith Kellogg was in Ukraine inspecting its troops. At the same time, the Russian assault intensifies with no ceasefire in sight.
As the Ukraine-Russia war rages unabated, with Moscow weighing heavy on Kyiv amidst heavy drone and missile attacks, Ukraine is undergoing internal strategic realignment to gear up for the coming days. Ukraine's parliament voted on Thursday to appoint Yulia Sviridenko as the country's new prime minister. She secured 262 votes in the 450-seat parliament. Due to wartime conditions, parliamentary sessions are not broadcast in Ukraine. President Zelensky supported her appointment as part of the largest government reshuffle since Russia's invasion began in February 2022. Also, as part of the reshuffle, President Zelensky appointed Deputy Prime Minister Olha Stefanishina as Ukraine's new ambassador to the United States. Zelensky stated that she would also serve as special presidential representative to Washington to strengthen diplomatic relations while formal appointment procedures are underway. Meanwhile, US Special Envoy Keith Kellogg visited Ukraine's military training grounds on the third day of his tour. Video footage shows Kellogg observing a military training exercise at an undisclosed location, accompanied by Brigadier General Oleksandr Pivnenko, commander of Ukraine's National Guard. Kellogg arrived in Ukraine on July 14, one day after President Trump announced his tougher stance against Russia over the war. The Russia-Ukraine war, meanwhile, continues with no signs of ceasefire in sight. Several attempts by US President Donald Trump to bring President Putin and President Zelensky to the negotiating table seems to have yielded no results. Over 3.5 years now, Russia has annexed several parts of Ukraine and continues its assault. Kyiv has retaliated but lacks the long-range missiles and weapons needed to strike deep into Russian territory. President Trump recently issued a 50-day ultimatum to Russia to agree to a ceasefire. He also announced plans to supply Ukraine with advanced weaponry and impose additional sanctions on Moscow. But even though the US threatened to levy additional sanctions on Russia, Moscow seems undeterred. As of now, the conflict shows no signs of resolution as diplomatic efforts falter and military actions escalate. With heightened US involvement and a major reshuffle in Ukraine's leadership, the coming weeks could prove pivotal. All eyes now turn to Moscow and Washington as the 50-day deadline looms, holding global peace in the balance. Syed Absarul Hassan's report for DD India.